Two of the most enticing aspects of horror films are the simplicity of the storylines and the immediacy of the scares. More often than not, the genre excels at providing easily digestible plots surrounded by visceral frights. Of course though, there are always exceptions to this rule, and some films require multiple examinations to truly reveal all of their secrets, explanations, connections, and greater meanings. So if you want some films that are going to flex your brain muscle, then I have got you covered. I'm Amy from What Culture, and here are 10 confusing horror movies you need to watch twice to understand. 10. Don't Look Now, 1973. The death of a child is the hardest thing a parent can endure, and this is something explored in the harrowingly abstract 1973 masterpiece Don't Look Now. It centers around John and Laura Baxter, a young couple who flee from England to Italy to heal their minds and marriage after the accidental drowning of their young daughter, Christine. For the most part, this consists of John restoring an ancient church, whilst Julie spends her time with a pair of elderly sisters, one of whom is blind and psychic. While that may sound fairly straightforward, Don't Look Now is anything but. In fact, it's full of odd behaviour and dialogue from several characters, including the sisters, that perpetually makes the Baxters and the audience feel uneasy. There are also a few ambiguous visions and visual depictions spread throughout, as well as a mysterious recurring figure in red who reminds John of Christine. How all of these events are connected, inevitably leading to one of the most shocking and sudden endings in horror history, is only made clear after at least 2 in-depth appraisals. That, or, you could just watch our 2019 video explanation. 9. Possession, 1981. Long before polarizing auteurs like Ari Aster, Yorgos Lanthimos, and Darren Aronofsky began simultaneously frustrating, confusing, and delighting their fans, there was Andrzej Żalowski's violently impressionistic Possession. Through the most reductive lens, the story chronicles the mental and physical breakdown of Anna, as she wrestles with her concurrent roles as matriarch, adulteress, and independent soul searcher. Caught in the crossfire are her husband Mark, her child Bob, and her new lover Heinrich. Along the way, some of them even get doppelgangers. Obviously, that's just scratching the surface of what Possession has in store, with the director handling themes of sexual repression, unwanted parentage, and a host of other profound yet perplexing concepts. It's a cinematic journey unlike any other. If you want just a taste of the cerebral anarchy that walks a razor's edge between madness and genius that this movie is, just take a look at the infamous subway scene. Undoubtedly, it's an experience that's as easy to love as it is to hate, with dozens of layers to peel back upon a concentrated second go-round. 8. Jacob's Ladder. Although the 1990s were ripe with other extraordinary psychological terrors, virtually none matched the poignant truths of Jacob's Ladder. The film follows the titular Vietnam vet as he succumbs to mystifying hallucinations and increased paranoia related to his prior tour of duty. Despite being almost relentlessly nightmarish and surreal, which is why it helped influence so many subsequent pop culture IPs such as the Silent Hill franchise, it's also a grounded and biting commentary on the depictions and the lingering after effects of war. It's a stellar implementation of the unreliable narrator template too, since spectators can't help but get lost in Jacob's puzzlement as he searches to discover what's real, who's trustworthy, and why it's all happening. Led by a host of stellar performances, it's as emotional and compelling as it is unnerving and fantastical. Of course, the ultimate revelation recontextualizes and enhances everything you've witnessed, thus a return trip is a definite requirement once your heart is ready for it. On that note though, just be sure to watch the original, don't bother with the 2019 remake. 7. In the Mouth of Madness. Commonly considered John Carpenter's last great endeavour, The Mouth of Madness is a forward-thinking slice of self-referential insanity. It's also seen as the final installment of Carpenter's unofficial Apocalypse trilogy, the other two being 1982's The Thing and 1987's Prince of Darkness. The sheer grisliness and weirdness of its plot, in which an insurance investigator searches for a missing horror writer by inexplicably entering the evil town from the writer's books. The protagonist encounters plenty of macabre sights and sounds that fall in line not only with Carpenter's previous projects, but sort of refer and direct us to those of Cronenberg and Lynch too. That said, what makes In the Mouth of Madness truly rewatchable is how it scatters many meta-observations and callbacks into the downward spiral of lucidity and logic. Primarily, the film's horror writer Sutter Kane and his imaginary universe pay homage to beloved Stephen King novels like Cujo and Children of the Corn. By the end, the movie even offers a few delightfully sly winks at itself before investing in a finale that's implications baffle nearly every first-time viewer. 6. Antichrist, 2009. Like Don't Look Now, Antichrist centers on a married couple who relocate in an attempt to reconnect after losing their child. In typical Lars von Trier fashion, it's an even more graphically violent, explicitly erotic, and thematically intangible statement. Charlotte Gainsbourg and Willem Dafoe star as the couple in question. Overcome with grief and fear, the couple retreat to the woods, where over time the woman develops manic and destructive tendencies whilst the man becomes progressively domineering yet helpless. By the end, the pair indulge in numerous acts of sadomasochism, such as the very famous genital mutilation scene, or while growing further apart as they witness startling allegorical visions. There are decomposing animals, a tree made out of entwined corpses, and an abundance of other bafflingly unsettling imagery. At the time, von Trier was suffering from severe depression, so it's only natural that his downcast outlook permeates the proceedings. Brutal, philosophical, and disturbing, Antichrist is not for the faint of heart, and it's unquestionably impenetrable without repeated scrutiny. 5. Triangle 2009. The best twist endings in cinema go beyond lazily employed shock value. Rather, they force audiences to reconsider everything they've just seen in order to comprehend the inevitable conclusion. What's even better is if these climaxes add new implications and layers for viewers to digest when they hit the play button again. Initially, Triangle seems like an intriguing and fun, yet fairly insubstantial merger of the slasher and time travel subgenres, with protagonist Jess and friends getting stranded on an abandoned ocean liner with a masked killer. One by one, each person is slaughtered, only for multiple versions of them to reappear and interact as the situation keeps resetting itself. Only exasperated single mother Jess realizes that this is happening, which means that she simultaneously operates as the main hero and principal villain. For sure, it's a premise that keeps you guessing until the very end. However, the true meaning of what's going on isn't revealed until the last few minutes, and it's a game changer. So much so, in fact, that consequent voyages are rendered both structurally and emotionally complex, with a haunting air of tragedy dampening each scene. 4. The Babadook. Many of the greatest horror films bury deeply relevant and universal subject matter beneath their blatant scares. Jennifer Kent's directorial debut The Babadook is a superb example of this. Ostensibly, it's about a widowed mother, Amelia, trying to cope with her unstable son, Sam, following the death of her husband, Oscar. Before long, she's terrorized by the namesake being as she becomes increasingly irritable and neglectful. Eventually, the creature taunts Amelia with glimpses of Oscar before possessing her, and from there, she chases her son around the house with murderous intent, but is met with compassion when her son embraces her, giving her the power to imprison her tormentor in the basement and feed it when necessary. As a superficially threatening monster, the Babadook is certainly frightening, but its weightier role as a metaphorical manifestation of Amelia's debilitating anguish and resentment, which she finally learns to manage in a healthy way, makes return encounters far clearer and more beautiful. 3. Goodnight Mommy. Malevolent and untrustworthy kids are a staple of the style, and Goodnight Mommy demonstrates that better than most. In a nutshell, the film finds twin brothers Lucas and Elias becoming highly skeptical of their mother, whose head is covered in bandages because she's just returned from having cosmetic surgery. They believe that the woman beneath the bandages isn't really their mother, and instead that she's an imposter who's come to harm them. Part of their newfound touchiness involves her lashing out at Elias and imposing strange rules, like keeping the blinds closed during the day. In response, the boys do the logical thing and torture her so that she'll confess to not being who she says she is, leading to an alarming conclusion that incorporates aspects of several mental ailments. Written and directed by Veronica Franz and Severin Fiala, Goodnight Mommy is a pleasingly warped tale that, like their latest venture, 2019's The Lodge, unveils darker repercussions and clues with each new examination. 2. The Wailing. South Korea has inarguably turned out some of the strongest horror experiences of the last decade, but with The Wailing, writer-director Na Hong-jin may have crafted the best of the bunch. It's a combination of horror and crime thriller, diving into a family drama revolving around demonic possession. Long story short, a strange man shows up in a small village, and shortly thereafter a mysterious illness and murders start occurring, prompting a police officer to go and find out how everything's linked before more residents, namely his daughter, become afflicted. It's a fascinating and inventive take on the exorcism subgenre that's about much more than just instant terror. In other words, the film is as scary for its makeup effects and disconcerting audio as it is for its glimpse into how faith, obsession, and doubt can tear apart a community. Bursting with rich personalities, dense world building, and consistently stunning revelations, it's a multi-layered triumph whose full scope can only be appreciated upon multiple inspections. 1. Mother. In Mother, there's so much going on that it's quite difficult to summarize the plot, but put most simply, it follows a woman who has to watch powerlessly as her utopic life is disrupted by dozens of strangers who venerate her husband beyond measure, and it delivers a visual experience that's equal parts ghastly, cruel, pensive, and figurative. Part of the terror comes from seeing Jennifer Lawrence's titular protagonist treated with such effortless, mean-spirited, and violent disrespect. We watch instances of self-immolation, infanticide, and mass murder, and literally everyone else around her just seems to be cool with it. By the end, audiences wholly adapt her sense of confusion and lack of urgency, unsure why things happened as they did and what it all means. The most overt thing about it is its biblical connotations. That's made clear pretty quickly, like an uninvited couple being kicked out for stealing something and one of their sons kills the other one. This all comes straight from the Bible. But when things start getting really crazy, it can be hard to keep up with and notice every clever little visual element. So to truly get the most out of this movie, watch it once to get a base understanding, and then go back at least another 2 times to get the most. And with that, we've reached the end of this list of 10 confusing horror movies you need to watch twice to understand. What other movies didn't you understand on the first watch? Let us know in the comments below. And remember to check out whatculture.com for more lists and articles like this every single day. As always, I've been Amy from What Culture, and I'll catch you next time.